This is Jonathan Aguilar, fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Danny Christie, bare knuckle boxer, and obviously I saw that you've been sparring Tommy Fury ahead of his fight with Jake Paul. First of all, how's things going, Danny?
Never better, mate. Never better. Yeah, I'm in a really good place, mate. Got a bit of a peace going in that for a first time in a long time, and yeah, things are nice. Things are good.
That's good to hear. Obviously, people would have seen that photo of yourself and Tommy sparring ahead of this fight with Jake Paul. First of all, how did that come about? Did they reach out to you? Do you know him well, or?
No, first time I met Tommy and Roman, but I've met Big John a few times. We've got a mutual friend, and I was invited, from John through this mutual friend that we have, and yeah, that's how it came about.
And was that the first time you sparred him when we saw that image on
Yeah,
social media?
it was, mate. Yeah,
And how many rounds did you and Tommy end up doing?
I think we've done 5 rounds.
Mm.
Yeah.
So obviously, he's preparing for this fight against Jake Paul. Did anything surprise you when you sparred him? What did you think going into the spar of what it'd be like?
Well, I was a little nervous on the way down. I do a lot of traveling, around different gyms, sparring. I love to spar. But I was probably a little more nervous this time, with it being Tommy Fury and, with it being his gym and stuff. And I expected him to be decent. But like I said, on my own channel, he surprised us in nearly all areas. He was better at almost everything, than I thought he was going to be. I was impressed with just about everything. First of all, he's a lovely chap. He's very polite and courteous, and he made me feel very welcome, as did, other gym members and coaches, and, Big John especially. His brother Roman's a nice lad as well. I had a couple of rounds with him to warm up. But no, I was impressed all round, mate. His jab and his feet, I think are about his 2 best assets. But he's a big, strong lad, and I remember being in the clinch type situations, and it was like he had roots in the ring. He was like a tree in the ground. He's very solid and rigid, and he's a muscular, strong man, young man.
Mm. And in terms of other boxers you've sparred, how does he compare to any other pro boxers you've sparred?
Yeah, he'll be up there. Yeah, he's definitely up there with one of the best lads I've been in with. Absolutely. Very long arms, deceivingly long arms, and he uses his reach very well. You think you're just out of range, but you're not. And he just steps in and closes that little 4-inch gap. And struggled getting out of the way of the jab for the first couple of rounds. He was good, not about it.
And power wise, were you impressed with his power?
Yeah, it can definitely dig. His jab hand especially, he's got a good strong jab. And he's not just like a one-trick pony with that jab. He throws soft jabs, stiff jabs. He feints it, he doubles it, he triples it. He kept us guessing. I was very impressed.
And heading into this fight with Jake Paul next week, has your prediction changed after sparring him? How do you think it's going to go?
Prediction never changed. I fancied Tommy Fury from the off. I don't think the bookies and the boxing world are, kind of giving him a look in, really, which to me isn't right. But I'm just an opinion, an individual with an opinion. So it didn't change my opinion. I was backing Tommy from the off, and I went down to the bookies, and I chucked a couple of quid on him. I got a feeling he's going to get the job done. Is there a little bit of a concern regarding, how much money and clout Jake Paul's got behind him? I would say there is, but I'm still confident Tommy can get the job done. But listen, only time will tell.
When you had that bet, did you bet on a knockout win?
I just bet to win. I just bet to win. My prediction is, Tommy outboxes him with, relative ease, in my opinion. if he sticks to his good fundamentals and his boxing and his jab, and he lets Jake Paul do all the work, just lets him come, let him overextend and leave his feet behind, which he's got a habit of doing. I think he can get the job done quite comfortably. How will the judges see it? How will that decision go? We'll just have to see. We'll have to wait and see. I think, as I mentioned, it has become a rather personal affair, and when you get them feelings sort of manifesting and festering, your tactics can go out the window, as I well know. And if it turns into a firefight, or Tommy gets overzealous and, starts looking for the knockout, could be a different story altogether. When you get into a firefight with someone as powerful as Jake Paul, it's anybody's game.
And just lastly on all of this, before we talk about your career, like you say, it's such a personal fight. It's got so much attention and things like that. How often is Jake Paul's name mentioned, in the gym, or, as fighters, do you even talk about the fight or the opponents, or you just focus on the job?
His name wasn't breathed even once, in the gym, circulating around, speaking to a lot of people, different coaches, and, some of his family. And, the lad never got a mention. He seemed to me very focused and determined, on the job at hand. And, apparently is the best version of himself at present. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that what I'm about to say relates to Tommy, but, I have been in situations and spars and, been around a little bit with boxing, and sometimes I'd just like to double down on the fact that I'm not suggesting this is Tommy Fury, but sometimes, you get people when you go to their gym and they're in their comfort zone, surrounded by their team and their family, they can be much, much better than they are on fight night. As I've said, I'm not suggesting that is Tommy, but that's a factor in boxing. People get in the comfort zone in their gym, surrounded by their people, in the ring that they've sparred in many times. And sometimes it can be misleading, because that isn't always the case. Some fighters, they can be very different on the big stage. I know a couple of lads who I used to box with. They used to kill everybody in the gym. Nobody could touch them in the gym. Even when you took them out of the comfort zone and took them into different gyms, sparring, nobody could really touch them. But yet, under the lights, when it was a real life situation, they never seemed to do as good as they did in the gym. And as I've said, that likely isn't the case, but it's definitely a factor in boxing.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of fighters that do say that they're gym fighters, in a sense. But onto yourself. Obviously, interesting. You're on with the BKFC, obviously bare knuckle boxing. How did you get into that? Because you've got to be maybe even a different kind of brave to a professional boxer to get involved in something like that. So how did it all start?
Well, first of all, I'm an addict. I'm currently 10 months clean. I had a chaotic, wild lifestyle. Lots of carnage, lots of pain, misery, regret, loss, sorrow, and I got myself into recovery after a straightener which went viral. It was at a gym in Manchester with fighting somebody, who'll go unnamed. But I'm sure, you'll know who I'm talking about. But, that fight went viral. And, I thought it was probably about time that I sorted myself out, after 20 years of chaos. And I got into recovery. A big shout out to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and I got myself straightened out. And I'm just over 10 months clean. And during that time, things really started to come together for us. My life started taking shape. I was discovering and learning so much about myself. And I was blessed with a phone call, from a representative of the BKFC, which had seen me fight in Manchester. And, they said, I had something to offer, and would I potentially be interested in a 3-fight contract with the BKFC? I tuned it over. My best days are definitely behind us. All my best years were spent doing all the wrong things. I'm 38 years old. I've got a high mileage body. I've got a lot of injuries, a lot of wear and tear. To say the least, high mileage. And I talked it over with my family and my loved ones. And I thought, something, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to pick up where I left off, in my early 20s, where I love boxing. I had 19 amateur bouts. I won 12. I won a Northwest Counties title. I got to the ABA quarterfinal. I was a reasonable amateur and I love boxing. So I picked it back up where I left off. I got in touch with my old coach and, we've been doing some really good work, and it just kind of went from there. Once I got the blessing of my loved ones, I said, something, I'm going to give this a go because, I know I'm rough and tough, and I'm as game as they come. And I, something, I didn't want to get to 40 or perhaps early 40s and think, shoulda, coulda, woulda, when my body didn't have any athletic ability left for my career that I'm doing now. So I just took the bull by the horns and said, yeah, let's do it. And I've loved it. I've loved and embraced every second of it. I've had 2 fights and I've won them both. And I'm very pleased with how things are going.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, that goes to show, doesn't it, what combat sport can do for people turning their life around, like you say. Obviously, you said there's wear and tear, and sort of you're at the end, and it was a 3-fight deal. So after, I'm guessing you have this final fight, will you look to extend with BKFC, or maybe the doors are open for Misfits boxing? I mean, would you want to get involved in something like that, or?
No, actually, my plans are pretty crystal clear. What I want to do when I finish boxing, I want to be attached to an amateur club, and I want to, give something back. I want to be a coach. I've got an abundance of boxing knowledge. I've watched boxing since, I can remember, and I always remember the relationship, the admiration and respect that I had for my coaches as an amateur. Coaches are, the heroes, really. Most of them are in it for the right reasons. And, they don't really get the credit or respect that they deserve. It's an unpaid job 9 times out of 10. They're lucky if they get their expenses covered, and they're down the gym 3-4 times a week, trying to help kids and, make kids become better at boxing, and that's something I really want to do. I really want to give back in some way, and I would love the relationship, a mutual relationship like what I had with my coaches, because I just admired them, and I always looked up to them. I'd like to be in that position, and that's what I'm going to be doing when I finish boxing. But I've got another fight on April the 22nd at Aintree. I can't quite announce my opponent yet because the contracts aren't finalised, but it's a big fight. He's probably about the best lad in the country. These are the fights that I want to be in bare knuckle for. And I made myself a promise that I'd be out before Christmas. So there could be time for another couple of fights before Christmas, but only time will tell. I look at every fight like it's my last fight, and I fight that way when I'm in there. And like I say, I'm probably a fight or 2 away from not being able to do it anymore, given my physical condition. But the heart's still there, and and there's a will to win for sure, and there always will be.
Well, Danny, wish you the best of luck for that April fight, and obviously going into the training side of things. Just tell everyone where to follow you on social media.
I'm Instagram. I'm Danny TB Christie, and on YouTube it's the real Danny Christie. Anyone that wants to come over and follow my journey and give me some support, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description to your channel when I upload this video. Brilliant. So, Danny, appreciate it, and enjoy the fight next week.
Anytime, mate. Thanks for having me. God bless. Bye-bye for now.